Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you may be on the planet. Welcome to Atlanta Discuss. I'm still your boy, your host. You call me so many names. Yes, yeah, I'm your uncle sometimes. Some of you call me all those. My name still remains Adebalogun. I'm still your homeboy. And we're here once again to discuss another issue that we might all get one or two things from. We want to talk about the state of the Nigerian nation, the state of the Nigerian economy. But well, when we say state of the Nigerian nation, it's going to encompass everything, majorly the Nigerian economy. So today we have a friend with us. He's a friend because he's in-house. He's always with us. His name is ADEJUWON, ANJOORIN. He's not new to all of you. You know him. He's a special guy. He knows his onions. Let me just tell you a bit about him. He's a social commentator, public affairs analyst, and he's a deeply passionate person about the development in Africa and the African diaspora. So over 2 decades now, he has been actively engaged in various forums as an activist, volunteer, contributor to different causes. So he's a professional. We know it, and I've introduced him to you in the past. But we're going to have a lot of fun today because, at Atlanta Discuss, we discuss. We have an opinion. Our guest has an opinion, and we always go for the jugular. So Atlanta Discuss will embrace all facets of humanity to disseminate positive news in a world filled with a lot of bad news. It might not be good for you, but it's always a fact. We give a voice to the unheard. We balance the information equation. We serve as a bridge between the developing and the developed world. We search and discuss the facts wherever you lead. We discuss the best of the human race just to get the best out of mankind. So we embrace business, sport, IT, faith-based issues, and we just discuss the fact. We embrace it. We search for it wherever it is. That's why we're here. That's why we have ADEJUWON ANJOORIN. We call him J1. So as we're going, if you hear me call him J1 sometimes, don't be surprised. Brilliant guy. J1, welcome to Atlanta Discuss.
Thank you very much for having me again. I appreciate the opportunity.
All right. So as usual, let's kick the ground running. The state of the Nigerian nation, appalling, very appalling. Just in the last 24 hours, we discovered that Nigerian foreign reserve that everybody thought was well over 30 billion is now about 3-point-something billion, according to JP Morgan. Nobody in the Nigerian government have said anything to otherwise to say that it's not true, to say these are the real figures. Because we've also found out that Nigerian government in the past 4, 5, 6, 7 years of the same APC government have been using that foreign reserve as a leverage to borrow money, very unprecedented in the annals of our history. I'm hearing that for the first time. Well, we know that countries like Nigeria, apart from having a very, very buoyant foreign reserve, do have what you call sovereign wealth fund, which is in very big proportion. I know a country like Norway, all producing, I don't even think they have as much oil as Nigeria, have almost 1 trillion, if not more, in sovereign wealth fund, strategic reserve for the future of the country. So what is happening? The Nigerian economy is comatose, nothing is working. The Naira, as you know, is nothing to write home about. The fuel subsidy has been removed, the fuel price is skyrocketing. The cost of living is high. The poor cannot breathe. The poor cannot breathe. J1, how did we find ourselves in this morass?
Thank you again for having me here today. It's a very, very unfortunate. Like when you were reading out the statistics, which we're all familiar with, I couldn't help but shake my head at how bad things have gotten. As of December last year, we were told that our foreign reserves was $33 billion, only for JP Morgan to tell us it was about 3.7 billion as of yesterday. And now we have a better understanding why our currency the devaluation is so rapid and so quick. It's because the economy has no backbone. There's no backbone to our economy right now, and things are so bad. But how did we get here? We got here, Mr. Balogun, by years of bad policy making and the bastardization of corruption. Like the corruption and the profligacy in Nigeria is beyond mind-boggling. I'm searching for the words to describe what we've been going through. And you can only, they say every day for the thief and one day for the owner. You can only push bad behavior so far. Like everything going on right now, I wouldn't even blame on President Tinubu. yes, he made some policy decisions that were probably too hurried, that were not planned for. You know, he's reacting. You know, he's been reactive in planning for them. It was so proactive planning, but these problems started way before now. And APC under Buhari just came to catastrophize what was already a very, very bad situation. Our inflation rate is through the roof. Our food production, the president just declared a national emergency on that. Well, PMS production, our refineries are comatose, literally dead. I don't know. I don't know if anything is working in Nigeria at this point. The state of the Nigerian nation, Paul Alaji, as he put it, one of the leading economists in Nigeria, said, we are in an economic turmoil. And like I said, I strongly, strongly believe that we've made a lot of bad policies in the past. We allowed our critical infrastructure to become so decadent that it's been unable to power economy, and we had to depend on generators and gas. And we were not making the gas, we had to be importing the gas. So when you look at it from the macro to the micro, from the nationalistic to the state, to the local government, we have made very, very bad choices as a country, and pretty much the chickens have come home to roost now, unfortunately.
Yeah, but I mean, I agree with everything you're saying, but I mean, I would disagree with the fact that, you know, we're a 63-year-old country, we've never really jogged. I mean, when I say jog, as in move fast, you know, what I'm trying to say is that, I mean, a young baby will crawl, stand, walk a bit, jog, and run. You know, what I'm saying is in most cases, we take 5 steps forward and we take another 7 backward. And between 99 and today, the best we ever had in movement, in genuine traction economically is under Obasanjo. Now, today, things have gone back to zero, if not minus. Now, I'm asking you again that how did we get here? Because if between 1960 and 66, you know, we weren't doing too badly, do we blame the military for this? We've not had military rule since 1998. And you also said something, you said you don't blame President Tinubu for this. So I'm giving you a 3-in-1 question. Do you think if the military had not intervened along the line, we'll be doing better? I think I've asked this before. Now, number 2, do you think that even though you said President Tinubu is not to blame, do you think if Tinubu is there maybe for the next 8 years, do you think he has a magic wand that can bring Nigeria out of this? And number 3, is there actually a way around all this? Like you said, for refineries, nothing is functional, which is very disappointing because we are the only producing country in the world that doesn't have a functional refinery, coupled with the fact that we are importing what we have in abundance, which is oil, and exporting things that we don't have, like electricity to Niger and some part of Benin Republic. So what do you have to say to those 3 questions?
Yes, so to start with, like you said, the incursion of the military, we discussed it last week. They were not supposed to be. The military men are not trained to govern nations. They are accidents of history when they happen to govern properly. Like Muammar Gaddafi. I don't want to go into human rights violations. Talking about economy and development, we have seen a couple of military men who did well. Gaddafi did well for Libya. Thomas Sankara did well within the 4 years that he was in Burkina Faso. But generally speaking, across board, in Nigeria, our experience in Nigeria, the military incursion led to severe economic decline and irresponsibility. So the military incursion coincided with the oil boom for Nigeria. And I think this is where the problem started. And with the oil boom came laziness. Resourceful. We lost our resourcefulness with other things that we had that were running our economies successfully way before we had oil. And then we amassed a whole lot of cash and we thought we were very rich. Now, what has happened over the years, like I said, the oil money became the oil cost because things that were working stopped working because there was free money coming. Yes, we built bridges. Yes, we built NEPA. We did a lot of things, but we couldn't sustain that. We couldn't sustain that because we were not really generating wealth through any proper resource. Also, our production capacity as a country began to decline because we did not maintain our national critical infrastructure. This is one of the biggest problems. Our roads are so bad. Our railway, we had National Railway Corporation. Our railway ceased to work. So that means that the cost of transporting goods across the country skyrocketed. Our power, NEPA, which is PHC and all the different agencies that came out of NEPA, our production capacity became so low that we went to 4,000 megawatts for a country as big as ours, when South Africa generates about 50,000 megawatts. All of these things contributed to where we are today. Our refineries, which is part of our national critical infrastructure, they are not working. Why are they not working? We stopped refining crude. Nigeria's consumption, daily consumption of PMS is about 420,000 barrels. A combination of the Kaduna refineries, Port Harcourt refinery, and Warri refinery, at full capacity, can produce about 550,000 barrels per day. So we should not be importing PMS. So why are the refineries not working? Irresponsibility. Our political class saw a loophole in the system to begin to import PMS, led destruction of our refinery infrastructure. So we export crude, buy PMS, they get subsidy, and they build a humongous corruption dynasty on top of the subsidy regime. These are the decisions. It was a combination of political elite, military dictatorship, military rulers who enriched themselves at the cost, at the expense of the country. They had no desire to see the country live up to its full potential. They had no patriotism. They had no vision. All they wanted to do was to be rich and to live a good life. And these guys were in charge of our government for a good 25 to 30 years. By the time Obasanjo came on board in 1999, things were already so bad, and we began to try to rescue things. He tried, he made policies that worked considerably. The sovereign wealth fund, we had some of that. Under Obasanjo, we had excess crude accounts that had some money in it. But right now, all of those monies are gone. Because, like I said, our national behavior, our national character, which is lacking in production, heavy in the consumption of imported goods. Do you realize, Mr. Balogun, that 75% of the things we use in Nigeria are imported? But we don't export anything. Yes. Your laptops.
I think it's probably more than that.
Your laptops, your cell phones, your shirts, your food, almost everything is imported. So then you are heavily dependent on the forex, and our currency kept weakening. We also followed the recommendations of the World Bank and the IMF in devaluing our currency since the 1980s. And a lot of different policies, structural adjustment program that did not work, MAMSA that did not work, and all of these policies, they caused short-term damage, but the ramifications of their impact scaled down through the decades. And like I said, everything has now gotten to a head. As of today, Mr. Balogun, Nigeria's economy we are in a recession. It's not been declared, it's not been said, but the economy is in a recession at this point. Our balance of trade is terribly warped because we don't, like I said, containers come into Nigeria full of stuff, they go back empty. We're buying gas. There was a pandemic. There was Russia invaded Ukraine. Prices skyrocketed globally, and of course, the international price of PMS skyrocketed, and our president just removed subsidy. So now, the buyer in Oshodo, in Enugu, is literally at the whims and caprices of international factors that determines the landing cost of gas. So as soon as Tinubu declared subsidy is gone, from 189 naira at the pump, all the way to 600 naira, 557 naira. So this is how we got here. It's a series of mistakes. But I think that going forward, as citizens, we need to now begin to focus on how do we get out of where we are. I think that will be the next phase of our discussion. How do we get out of where we are as a country.
Yeah, quick one. The third one, you said initially, you said Tinubu was not to blame for whatever economic morass we're in. You know, I mean, APC is APC, is a continuation of the old regime. But I'm putting this to you. Do you think if Tinubu serves in power for 8 years, he can take Nigeria out of this morass?
He would do better than Buhari did. Let me tell you, Mr. Balogun, Buhari was...
Anybody would do better than Buhari.
Yes, Buhari, for long, surely, I don't know the English version of it. When we were kids in Nigeria, we used to play, you know, when you play soccer on the street and you don't have a goalkeeper, and, you know, we say, for long, surely, that is angels are your goalkeeper. So, you know, no ball should go there. Like, President Buhari, economically and security-wise, I couldn't tell you any one sector of our country that got better or that stayed at the same level under the 8 years of President Buhari. Everything retrogressed. Everything retrogressed, and our economy was nearly wiped out. The exchange rate from 200 and something naira to the dollar, it was, how much was it by the time he left? Almost 600. And now it's about 800 and something. And I believe it will be temporary. So, yes, President Tinubu, I strongly believe, I'm not a supporter of Tinubu. I'm not a supporter of his. But if he governs Nigeria for 8 years, I think the one thing that he has consistently displayed throughout his career is the ability to put certain people that make sense into certain positions. He was able to establish some form of continuity in Lagos State, even though his record in Lagos State leaves much to be desired. But the continuum that he has built, you know, we cannot say that Lagos has retrogressed over the past 25 years. The development may have been slow, but it has not retrogressed. So I strongly believe that if, instead of having Buhari there, we have a Tinubu there, we will make progress. But I really do believe that the other guy who is in court would be the guy to really take that, because he's the guy who really understands the issues, who has said consistently that we need to go from consumption to production, which is one of the real key issues that we need to face as a country. So, just to answer the question, under this dispensation, if it stays, we will come out of this rut. It may just be very, very slow. And it may be very, very slow because one of the key problems that we have in Nigeria, believe it or not, is corruption. It's understated. I think we have grown inundated with the topic to the point that we don't talk about it anymore. And this is wrong. Because
it's not part of us, yeah?
Yes, like it's one of the reasons why policies are not working. It's one of the reasons why I keep going back to it. When I was in Nigeria, I worked with 2 multinational companies for a combination of about 8 years. And they were both engineering firms, multinational engineering firms. And we had plants. In fact, my first job in my career was as a maintenance planner for a very, very massive plant. It was a massive plant that dealt with fluids, actually. It wasn't oil, but it was fluids. So if these plants are working in Nigeria, in the private sector, why are our refineries not working? Do you realize that it's not an engineering problem? It's a people problem. It's a corruption problem. It's sabotage. The reason why there was subsidy in the first place is because our refineries were destroyed intentionally. Why was our refineries destroyed intentionally? Because a cabal of people wanted to make money through subsidy. So who are these people? Several reports have come out. Pastor Bakare, in his national broadcast, he listed the different reports that have been released for the NNPC over the years, and as recent as last year, stating the companies that are benefiting from the subsidy scam for years, but no investigation has been done. All of this is bad behavior. All of this is national character that has been so compromised that at no layer of this distribution chain, at no layer of government, has anybody been able to rise up and say, stop that, we are going to take account. What exactly is going on here? The impact of corruption on our economy is understated. Let's go to power. Again, Let's go to power. Under the Obasanjo administration, NIPP, I don't know if you remember, I think he spent about $15 billion or 20, and then Yaradua came and added another $5 billion. Altogether, we have spent, before I even get to power, do you realize, sir, over the past 10 years, we have spent $25 billion on turnaround maintenance for our 3 refineries, Kaduna, Warri, and Port Harcourt. And yet, they don't, the generation of PMS from these refineries is less than 20%. $25 billion. Dangote is building one of the world's biggest refineries. It's less than 20, it's about $19 billion. So please, let's make the calculation. If we have spent $25 billion, not to build new refineries, just to fix refineries, and this man is building a world-class, capacity, 650,000 barrels per day, one of the biggest for $19 billion. What does that tell you? We've wasted $25 billion on those refineries. Why? Because majority of that money is gone in inflated contracts, spare parts that were never delivered, corruption. Corruption is destroying Nigeria. We go to power, where we're generating 4,000 megawatts for over 200 million people. Between Obasanjo's administration and Yaradua, we invested about 25 billion US dollars in the power sector. I remember then under Obasanjo, they said there were going to be gas stations all over the country, and they were going to pipe gas from LNG and all of the nuclear power stations. They gave all these licenses out. Not 1 megawatt was added to our national grid. Not any new transmission line was added to our transmission. Nothing, really, up till today. $25 billion. Even the almighty United States cannot mess with that kind of money. So,
yeah, but in all, sorry to interject you, but in all fairness to Obasanjo, he laid a lot of foundation for sustainable electricity in Nigeria. I mean, there were a lot of turbines that were brought in. I think it was when Yaradua came in that he canceled and stopped most of those projects. Even El-Rufai, alluded to that recently, that, Obasanjo, over 100, I'll give him maybe 50 or less, but he's still the best president we've had. He tried. But if there had been continuity, and I make bold to say, a lot of people will agree with me that with benefit of hindsight, it's looking to me like maybe we should have given Obasanjo that third time, because if he had gotten that, looking at what followed, of course, he was one that brought Yaradua, subsequently Jonathan, and who came after Jonathan, we have Buhari and all that. Because Obasanjo supported Buhari also, against Jonathan.
Yes.
At that time, I thought, I thought it was a very, very bad decision at that time. But having said all this, lumping it all together, and we continue to blame governors, because the people also have a role to play. Our men of God, they just go to the pulpit and spew a lot of rubbish, lies, and prophecies that are not realistic. It's looking every day that culturally we're inherently dishonest people. Individually, even in diaspora, you see people soar, they perform well, they get things done individually. Collectively, as a people, it's looking almost impossible. But the largest concentration of Black people in the world, are we a failed state? Is Nigeria a failed state? ADEJUWON.
Technically speaking, I believe there's about 4 metrics by which failed states are measured. I do not think we have ticked all. I think it's 5. We haven't ticked all 5.
Yeah, about 5. Yeah, 5.
Yes.
5.
So we haven't ticked all 5. I wouldn't call Nigeria a failed state, but Nigeria is on the brink.
How many have we ticked? Let me look for your trouble. How many have we ticked out of your 5?
I don't know. I don't have the. Let
me help you
exactly.
Out.
But I'll tell you what.
Of
as of today, we cannot say that non-state actors are more powerful than the established state. For all the lawlessness that we still have governance at the center. Yes, we have Boko Haram, we have Asai Dokubo and his minions, we have bandits, but there is a state in the middle, and they'll be combating this thing. So as long as that architecture, that's as compromised as it is, as long as it stands and holds together, Nigeria cannot be declared a failed state. It might be a troubled state. It might have internal insurrection that we are dealing with, but we are not failed yet. A good, sincere government if we have that for 2-3 administrations back to back, we can rescue the situation. The situation is very, very dire. Our economy is in the doldrums. Our national infrastructure is not. Yes, we cannot be. We cannot be. We cannot deceive ourselves on what is going on. We cannot be gullible, about what is going on, and say, and like you mentioned, the pastors, and the things that they say, which I would want to go too much into the pastors. I don't want to go into that. But at the end of the day,
touch not my anointed. Eh?
Well, yes, essentially, essentially, yes. The people.
I didn't mention names too, but I've read a lot of things that coming from in developed countries, if you say it and it's irresponsible, we'll call you out. That's just
let's deal with it. I think our clergy in Nigeria, they have failed us in certain respect. And I speak because I'm a Christian. My father is a clergyman. My grandfather was a clergyman. But the truth must be said, they have failed us in many, many ways. Number one, they have not upheld the actual standard of what they should be preaching. For the most part, they have not spoken truth to power. For the most part, in order to have peace with the government, essentially they've sold out on certain core principles of the faith. So then the prosperity message did a lot of damage. What the prosperity message did was to disconnect the people from the reality around them as things got very bad and put their hope in certain divine breakthrough mentality, that was going to happen outside of the reality of your environment. Everybody got into this miracle prosperity kind of concept. It became very pervasive.
But there's no prosperity in the land now.
There is not. That's the thing. There's no prosperity in the land. So, in terms of, I think that there is where the issue with the clergy has been. But the clergy is not the government. We should not take our eyes off the ball. It is the government. It is the men and women who sought political power for the sole purpose of self-enrichment and not national enrichment that our attention needs to be on. The citizens have been abused through years of severe impoverishment. Like, the national self-esteem of the average Nigerian citizen is very low. You and I live in the United States, and one of the differences that you can see is that the average citizen self-esteem of the American is not the same with the average Nigerian. The average American...
There's no basis for comparison, actually.
The average American knows his rights, makes his choices from an objective mind. The average American has some level of confidence that he can challenge his leadership and hold them to account. They have confidence in their election prior to the last election where everything went crazy. And even up to now, the average American has a sense that I have ownership of, I have a stake in this country. My voice matters in this country. You can't offer $10 to buy a person's vote in America. Like, the national self-esteem is very, very strong. And the founding fathers of America created that. They made choices to make that happen. The reverse is what we have in Nigeria. Our political leadership intentionally weaponized poverty against the citizen to the degree that the citizen has been so abused that when a diasporan, often you will experience this, when a diasporan calls out a Nigerian politician for bad behavior, typically the citizen defends that behavior because they have been so abused to the point that they don't even know who the oppressor is anymore. They don't even know what is my right as a citizen. They see the government as a paternalistic figure to which they must be so differential, and whatever they do just goes. And then everybody waits for my opportunity to hammer. So the cultural fabric the democratic cultural fabric of Nigeria has not been constructed properly to enable the citizens to play their role in the state. We are still in the subject mindset. Don't forget, we are Africans and we come from the culture of monarchy. Our democracy is 60 years old. There are people alive right now who saw Nigeria born. My father was born in 1950. Nigeria became an independent nation in 1960. If I ask if you have your dad alive or something, there are people in Nigeria who, as up to their 20s, all they knew as governance was Oba and Ijoye, and we are subjects. And the subject mindset has carried through into our democracy, and our leaders know that. And it's part of the reasons why there's so much impunity in the land. So if we want to change, it's hard for me to blame the citizens. Like, if people are not, because the citizens that are empowered are intentionally empowered by their leadership. When General Washington won the American War of Independence for this country, they offered him to be king. He said, no, I do not want to be king. We cannot chase away one king to replace him with another. Let us create a new position. Before George Washington, the word president has never existed in the annals of human history. It's been kings, lords, dukes, obas, emirs. It's in the United States of America that for the first time, the executive leadership position of the country was defined as a king, and it was termed. And he ran for the first time. The second time, he declined to run the third time, and then he set that precedent. And they began to build on top of that. So it's a complete, like you said, there's no basis of comparison. But just to answer that question, from the citizen is not playing their role because they're not actually citizens. They've never been taught how to be citizens. They don't even know what it means to be citizens, for the most part. The few who know, you will testify, the few who know, they're always in trouble.
Let's look at this a bit. We're going to solutions proper now,
David Nigeria, I will mention that young man's name. Those are people who know who they are. And that's why he speaks with so much confidence that some people find, yes, that's a citizen. Exactly.
David is a fantastic guy. He's been our guest 2 times there. David really does not care, I mean, and the way he talks, young guy, David's just 33. And I told him in one of the interview sessions we had that you have a long way to go, man.
He's a citizen.
33, you should.
He speaks and tweets like a citizen,
Yes, and we're all proud of him. We're all proud. That's why we associate with him. We encourage him. Don't get scared. Go for it. Go for the jugular. So now we're going to solution proper. We have a 1999 constitution that was given to us by the military. First line of that constitution: we, the people of the Federal Republic, blah, 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 blah. Now, the question is, when did we, the people, ever write a constitution? Because if we want to provide solution, really, I think that constitution is part of our problem, fundamentally,
Yes.
We know people, I'll allow you, let me just, I mean, like I said, our elections don't count. In the past, our elections used to be free, but they're never fair, For a big man, a rich man to be arrested or punished in Nigeria, he must have offended somebody in government. So when you look at it, you mentioned something about the center holding. I don't think so. I think it's just because all the money is going to the center and all that. So if you look at it, we have 6 sub-regions and all that. Do you think if we make some constitutional amendment, a real constitution written by the people, because it does look also that there's no sense of belonging, Do you think we need to rejig it? And I don't think the people that are exploiting the situation, the people that, the major beneficiary of all this, the political elite and all that, we also want us to rejig anything. So what do you think we should do vis-a-vis the constitution we operate? And if that doesn't change, what do you prefer?
Yeah, so I think that you hit the nail on the head. This is a political aspect of it. The 1999 Constitution, the We the People was 34 individuals that were hand-selected, and they came together and wrote that Constitution. And the majority of them were members of the military and ex-military. And they handed it over to a president who had been sworn in before he actually saw the Constitution for the first time. He himself had not seen, Obasanjo had not seen the constitution that he was sworn in on. Nigerians had no idea what was going on. We were in chaos. Abiola had just died. Abacha, I don't know which one died before which. Abacha died. Abiola died. Salam Abubakar came on the scene. In 9 months, did elections. They got Obasanjo out of prison. Sir, you need to look at the national trauma that Nigeria has been through. I think we might even underestimate, but I won't go into that. Nigeria has been through severe trauma. We have not had stability for years now. But I will not go into that. But essentially, when that constitution was written, it was written. There was a House of Rep guy from my state, was a professor in Pennsylvania, who held the constitution up in our chamber and said, this constitution will never give Nigeria peace. It will never give Nigeria prosperity. It will never unite this country. And it will never. Because it was not written by the people, by the people's representatives. The people didn't know what was in it. Their exclusive list has too many things that should not be on the exclusive list. The revenue allocation formula is terrible. It shouldn't be so. It took Niger Delta militancy for them to get 30% derivative formula, which if we had had the people coming together to say, let us negotiate the terms of our nationhood and how we want to participate in this, there would not have been need for this militancy to happen, for them to get 30% derivative formula. So, and there have been many, many attempts to reject that constitution, but it never sees the light of day. And it may never see the light of day. The reason being because the people who sit in our Senate and House of Reps will never vote against anything that is counter to their interests. They will never do it. Because to create a new constitution, we'll have to wipe out this order, do a sovereign national conference, and establish an organic constitution that will have meaning up to the roots, that people will actually have a choice. So I don't see that happening. What can happen is what Atiku Abubakar had proposed, because during the campaigns, even though I was supporting Peter Obi, I was studying all of their manifestos. What Atiku Abubakar had proposed was a complete devolution of power to the states to the degree that we will essentially have been restructured. And then what goes to the federal government and what's under the federal government's care will essentially be international diplomacy, the federal military, anything that has to do with education, that has to do with health, that has to do with the actual global human development index, the global economic index of nations will be governed at the state level. That means that the states would have a significant portion of what accrues from their land. That will help us a lot. Our federal government is too big, is too bogus. They have too many things that they are holding and they're not handling it well. Our police force, our security architecture, it's been said again and again and again, it needs to be completely broken apart. Listen, where I am now, there's a city police, there's a county police. If you have a university near you, they have a police, and these are solid police forces. These are not man of war units, but they don't need to take orders from someone that is so far away from them to deal with a local issue. So our judiciary, our court system also needs decentralization. If you know the amount of cases pending in the federal high courts because of the way it's constructed, because I've studied it and I've watched a lot of videos that legal luminaries have talked about it. So at the end of the day, the constitution needs to be worked on. It needs to be tackled. APC had it in their manifesto as of 2007, when they were first running, during Buhari's first campaign, that they were going to restructure Nigeria. It was only when, and that was why a lot of people supported them too. But they went back on that promise and they never mentioned it again. So that is one of the issues. Economically speaking too, we need, apart from that, we need, our refineries need to start working. You know what happened? One of the reasons why President Tinubu, what I believe he was able to confidently declare the removal of subsidy, I believe that he thought the Dangote refinery was going to be ready. so that we'll have local production of PMS. We will not depend on importing PMS. So the fuel subsidy will become, a non-issue. But you rather say Oledba, one trickster tricked another trickster. The Dangote refinery is not anywhere near ready. Yes, I think I've heard that it's ready at the end of this year. Some people say next year. So pulled out, declared that the subsidy is gone, and then everything skyrocketed. Everything went crazy. We need, as long as we are using PMS to power cars and generators, diesel and diesel generators, as long as we're an oil economy, we need our refineries to work. We need our refineries to work. That's number one. Number two, our oil production capacity that has been severely cut down. I think the OPEC quota that we have is supposed to be 1.8 billion barrels per day. Right now, we are producing about 1.1 or 1.2 million barrels per day. That's a lot of money that we've been losing. That is not going away, it's going to people's pockets because ships are coming into Nigeria and taking all of this oil away. I'm going back to it, the issue of corruption, lack of patriotism, bad national behavior, and bad national character. I'm sorry I'm talking too much and I'm taking your time.
No problem. I mean, you're our guest. It's a discussion. Like I told you, I mean, to our listeners, we're still talking to ADEJUWON ANJOORIN. He's an IT professional. He has a leadership position in various US government organizations, the public commentator, extremely opinionated, proud father. And he doesn't take prisoners. He says it the way it is. And that's what we do here at Atlantic Discuss. We always have a discussion and we have an opinion. I asked you a question about whether we need a new constitution, whether the 1999 one. Yes, it is true. Now, I mean, how we're going to sit down again and rewrite that is a very big issue.
It's not going to happen.
I don't think it's not going to happen. Not as you understand. I think the people is part of the problem. The people are part of the problem. I think to a very large extent we're culturally inherently dishonest. People don't say the truth, especially when they are a beneficiary of the government of the day, which makes it very shameful also. Because corruption is everywhere. You see it in America, you see it. I mean, look at all the Arab countries. They have oil, we have oil. I mean, it does look like they are justifying the money coming from oil that we are, so it's so sad. But having said that, knowing fully well that things are battered almost beyond repairs, I think that I don't want to sound like a pessimist, but I do think that it's a shameful state. I don't see light at the end of the tunnel, but I mean, we're not going to give up. We'll keep trying. But let me tell you, as bad as things are today, as bad as things are today, and let's say government doesn't change, a lot of us hope that maybe we'll have a better leader, and all that, If nothing changes, how much more time do you think Nigeria has before the cookie crumbles?
Before the what?
Before the cookie crumbles. Because no, I mean, everything is looking unsustainable. Everything we said 30 years back will never happen in Nigeria is happening. Islamic insurgency, terrorist attack, a broke country. Now we're using a very big chunk of all our earnings to service them, not pay them to service them. You understand what I'm saying? So, I mean, if nothing changes at this rate, how much more time do you think it's going to take? Now they want to invade Niger. I mean, I doubt they will. I think it's just a lot of backing now, nothing now, puffing, not backing, so to say, that nothing's going to happen. But you never know. But how much more time do you think we got?
If things are going to change, now that's, first of all, we are not the first country to have gotten to these depths of national decadence. I want to believe that. A few years ago, recently, Greece had a serious economic meltdown. The foreign reserves, everything nearly wiped out. Other countries had to come. They were insolvent as a country. And, Europe had to come and help them out and rebuild them. And now, they're on their way back. They are out of the doldrums and they are building back. Although, I know you're smiling. So that's one. After the Second World War, even before the Second World War, the United States is a country of immigrants because Europe went through many, many years of economic catastrophe and persecution to the point that Europeans began to seek a new world, and they all fled to the United States to come and build a new country. So they've been there. 20 years ago, China's economy, as of 1999, 1997, if you look at it, China's economy was a fraction of the US economy. China has been through this other Mao. They've been through starvation. Millions have died. Feudal wars that killed a lot of Chinese people, but they've been able to build back. So where Nigeria is today, we are not the first country to be in this kind of desperate mess. So if other people could have done it, I strongly, strongly believe that we can do it too.
Okay,
so
agree. I agree nothing is impossible, but I will disagree, when you say Greece, Greece had the European Union to come to his aid. AU cannot come to Nigeria's aid.
Nigeria's aid.
AU actually needs Nigeria. That's where I disagree with that a bit. But I mean, I understand anybody can come out of it. China was introspective. They had to change strategy. Nigeria is not. I mean, except
it's coming.
The
thing is this: sometimes until you hit rock bottom, you don't. The giant doesn't wake up, and Nigeria is pretty much close to the rock bottom now. It's very, very close. Things look calm on the surface, but things are really bubbling. Like, people are actually hungry. Like, this one is no longer This one is no longer a TV analysis.
How much time do we have before the cookie crumbles?
The cookie won't crumble. The cookie will crumble. Nigeria will come out of this situation. I believe that we will make the right choices. Even if President Tinubu stays in power, even if he stays, and we'll be in a lot of debt. Yeah, we'll take a lot of debt. It will be very, very bad, but the cookie will crumble. If you are able to get a few fundamental things right, please don't forget the immense gifting and talent that Nigerians have, and the inexhaustible patience, nearly inexhaustible doggedness that we have to cope with tough situations. Nigerians are very, very unique. You and I know that if the things Nigerians have survived, many, many, many countries would not have survived them. They will have erupted in very, very bad ways.
Yeah, but in as much, sorry to interject you. Sorry, I'm so sorry. But then, in as much as what you're saying is true, the talents and everything, we're not announcing it. We're not. The money tells the day. The foundation is not there. You can't build something on nothing. I understand your optimism. I respect it. I wish you, but I don't agree with you. There's no structurally we are bereft. There's no sign. There's no record of, I mean, individually, even in the diaspora, individually, you see a lot of successes. Collectively, we're not really doing anything because the Jews are coming together.
No, we are. It's just slow. I apologize for interjecting.
No, it's free.
20 years ago,
we're discussing.
Like 20, 25, 30 years ago, the Peter Obi movement would not have been possible. A movement that was powered by young people and cell phones within 9 months to national prominence, and stands a good chance to see it through in court right now. It's unprecedented.
Okay. So now that you mentioned Peter Obi, I like that. Now, I know we're not soothsayers, we don't see the future. I believe, personal opinion now, I believe the judiciary is going to do the right thing. I've looked at the case at hand, and I don't know what your opinion is. I'm going to ask you, but I'm telling you my opinion. I think the judiciary is going to do the right thing. I think the case at hand is so overwhelming. Nigeria is already embarrassed. The case is no more a national affair, it's an international affair. It's not from national to subcontinent to continental world affair. So I think it will be a very difficult thing, considering what's even happening in Illinois right now. Personally, I don't have anything against the person of Bola Tinubu. I've always told people I respect his sagacity, his tenacity, and all that, and all that. But I'm a Nigerian, and I think it's irresponsible for us as a people to have such person leading us right now. A man whose character is enmeshed in so much, you know. But what's leading to my question that you mentioned, Peter Obi, if the judiciary does the right thing, do you think Peter Obi can recalibrate the Nigerian system?
Yeah, so yes, I'll answer this question in twofold. But since you touched on our national character, I think that's a place to that's a segue that we need to pay serious attention to. Everything rises and falls with culture. In the corporate world, they say culture eats strategy for breakfast. I do agree that it's embarrassing. You know, during America went through a phase under President Nixon, the only US president who ever resigned. And during the heat of the whole Watergate scandal, he came out and spoke on TV and said, Americans want to know if their president is a crook. And I'm telling you, I am not a crook, and things like that. You know, he made that speech. He came, you know, he lied on the speech, but he had the boldness to, he felt the obligation to respect Americans, to come forward and address the allegations that have been meted against him. It is embarrassing to our national character that a lot of allegations of forgery, of perjury, all sorts, drug bagman for drug, whatever it is, have been demonstrated against the person of who the president currently is. And up till today, he has never come out to officially address this issue. His opponent filed a case at his supposed university to reveal his academic details. And he went to court to stop that. These are moral issues that I like to ask his supporters to say, you know, it's good for a person to be smart, but it's even better to have character. In our language, the local language, that is, a good name is better than riches. As a people, we ought not to close our eyes to such obvious deficiencies of character in our leadership. And it's causing us national embarrassment. John Galloway, I don't know if he's from the UK or South Africa. He's been speaking, you know, on the media. This white guy, I don't know. I think he's from the UK.
Yeah, the former parliamentarian from the United
UK. Yes, like last week he came out and spoke about it. It's like, well, I can't believe Nigeria's president used to be this in the United States. Like, how did this happen? Today, news went around that the head of state of Mali cast aspersions at our president and said, if ECOWAS invades Niger, then they will come and invade Abuja because they know that the person who is there right now is not the true winner. All of these things are embarrassing, speaks to our national character. I think that as a country, like America is doing right now with former President Trump, all citizens of goodwill, regardless of your political party, should be interested to know the truth and not shut your eyes to it. And if the truth is revealed, we respect it. So I share your optimism cautiously in the judiciary to do the right thing about this case. I hope that the truth is revealed. And I hope that justice does its cause. If Peter Obi wins the presidency, if for any reason Peter Obi is able to become Nigeria's president, I think that Nigeria has just hit a jackpot. Nigeria has just hit a point where we can actually press national reset. Peter Obi is from a different time. He's from a different space from the average Nigerian politician. He talks about the things they hate to talk about. which is probity in governance, which is responsibility with government's resources, consumption to production, use of local resources. This was the governor that helped Innocent establish by buying his cars when it started. This was a governor that bought computers from, I believe, was it Xynox or something? This is a man who gets it. Peter Obi gets it. He has the message, he has the antecedents, he has the temperament. Is Nigeria's MKO moment. I keep saying it, like from 2023 to 1993 is 30 years exactly. And I'm going to wax religious here. I believe that countries have moments of visitation. 1993 on MKO Abiola was Nigeria's moment of visitation that we bungled. And then Peter Obi is the second moment of visitation. So I have tremendous confidence in that man if we are able to get him to lead our country. Matter of fact, the optimism that I've expressed for this discussion today, a big part of it is hinged on the likelihood that we'll have a leader like him running our country for 8 years and do a reset on our national psyche, on our national policy making, on our national character, and you will see that Nigeria will become great again.
I love the way you just ended that. And honestly, if I have any hope, a lot of people are saying I'm a pessimist, and if there's any hope in me at all, it is because I believe that Peter Obi will do a reset. We'll recalibrate the Nigerian society, the Nigerian economy when it gets back. I don't think it will. I mean, I don't know where the optimism is coming from. I try and look at it. People say the judiciary is corrupt, but I am of that fervent opinion that having followed the Presidential Election Petition Tribunal, looked at all the hard facts, you understand the way it is. The Nigerian judiciary, if they bungle this, they have bungled everything. Honestly, it's a no-brainer. The economy is in a sorry state. Nothing is working, like you said. We're not even crawling. We're just lying there dormant. You understand? Now, however well intended even Tinubu might be, even though I don't think that he can deliver, but however well intended, however well composed his ministers are, definitely they are not. He has even failed in that area. But even if he is able to assemble a quality type of cabinet, so to say, the foundation and the basis to which he got to power, the baggages that is following him everywhere, the forgery, the forfeiture, and now that he's gone international, I think it will be very difficult for him to even attain it, because as a country, we're already struggling with a lot of credibility issues. Even before Tinubu, Nigeria is already known for corruption, 419, so many things. So we actually need someone that has the competency, character, and integrity. I've tried to listen to all those people that are against Peter. I've never met him. I don't know him from anywhere except I just fell in love with him. The thing to say, we try to verify and but I've tried to listen to those that are against him and nothing substantial, and my support for him is simply in the fact that I looked at Atiku, looked at Tinubu, looked at Obi, and looked at the three of them. In lieu of Nigeria present predicament, this guy should be the man for the job. It's a no-brainer.
It's a no-brainer.
It's a no-brainer, honestly. This guy left money for his state. He has not received. What was the clincher was that when he said, if anybody has any evidence that I have pilfered, stolen, or taking government money anywhere, they should come out. If those things are there, somebody will have come out, considering that Willie Obi are not the governor that succeeded him, and the Soludo that are there, they don't really like him. You understand? They will have exposed him. So I don't know. Anyway, to our listeners, our viewers, we're still on Atlanta Discuss. It's always a discussion. The topic changes all the time. We have been talking about the state of the Nigerian nation, strategically, the economy. We're about rounding up. We have ADEJUWON. ANJOORIN. He's a friend of the house, great guy. He's an IT professional, extremely opinionated. He's very assertive. He's very well, he's really embedded in the politics of Africa and in the world. He writes very well too. You'll still see more of him. So, Joe, I'm not going to allow you go without talking about Niger. It's
Hmm.
looking every day like if we go to Niger, we're going to burn our fingers. This is your final question. So I know it's when you answer it, you can give a parting shot to our listeners and our viewers because they like you. I mean, that guy makes a lot of very
Thank you,
good
everyone.
points. Yeah.
Thank you,
So
everyone.
I know if we go, and I've said I don't think it will happen. I really don't think so because from what I found out that majority of the ECOWAS nation, even those that support it, will not try it. They are not going to send their troops for obvious reasons. I mean, we know that about 5 of the countries in West Africa already with military government. All those 5 out of the 14, I think we have 14 countries in ECOWAS. I think so. If you remove 5 from 14, you have 9 left. From the 9 that are left, a lot of them are, have issues with Islamic border and all that. So I think it's looking like even Benin Republic, Northern Benin, it's Islamic. Malanville, Marapu, those are the cities in the north. They also have relationships with over across the border in Niger and all that. Now Niger is bordered by 8 countries. 8.
Hmm.
That's Libya, Algeria, Chad,
CAR,
Mali,
Chad, Mali,
Burkina Faso, Benin Republic, Nigeria. I
Central
can't remember
African
the
Republic,
eighth one. Yeah, but
Central
I
African
mean,
Republic,
but
I
there are
think.
8 countries.
Hmm.
Even Benin, with all the ECOWAS issues, they are trading softly. They didn't particularly close their border from what we found out. So it does look like we're the only one among all those 8 countries bordering Benin. Now, I don't think we will. I think anybody knows that it's stupidity, considering the fact that even the northern part of Nigeria does not agree. But President Tinubu, in lieu of his present predicament,
Hmm.
reputational issues, he wants to be recognized by the Western world. They are desperate. They are moving soldiers to Sokoto, Kebbi axis for an invasion and whatever. Now, if that invasion happens, what do you think it will portend for Nigeria?
It will be a generational and monumental mistake of gargantuan proportions.
Hmm.
I'll say that again. It will be a generational, monumental, and strategic error of gargantuan proportions whose ramifications will last for decades. We already have a situation where, after Gaddafi, the arms proliferation in the Sahel, down all the way to Nigeria, has thrown that whole region into tension. And Niger Republic has been the buffer, some form of buffer for Nigeria that has prevented the worst of that arms proliferation from hitting Nigeria. That's number one. Number two, in whose interest in whose interest is this invasion? Is it in the interest of the Nigerian citizen? Is it in the interest of the Nigerian citizen? The vast majority of Nigerians are against an ECOWAS invasion. They are enlisting into their armed forces in record numbers. The vast majority of Nigerians, literally every Nigerian I've ever spoken to, is against the invasion. Guess what? Even diaspora Africans, from the Caribbeans to African Americans, every Black person in the world believes that invading Niger because of a military coup is not in the interest of any African interest, but in the interest of France. If Nigeria goes ahead with, first of all, what if the military regime assassinates Bazoum and is gone? Because he's right there under their nose. I don't know, did he travel? Is he on exile? Probably not. What if he's executed? So then what are you going to reinstate? The military regime, they have said they want to be there for 3 years and they want to hand over power to democracy, but they want to change some things around. Yes, they are usurpers. I get that. But it is not our duty as Nigeria or ECOWAS to invade that country to reinstate Bazoum. it is not, it's going to disturb first, and then we are also in an economic mess at home. Save for President Tinubu's desire to get some international clout, international support for his presidency and things like that, there's zero benefit in this for any of the countries involved. So I hope that common sense will prevail. I hope that Pan-Africanism will prevail. I hope that the leaders of Africa, the African Union, will come together and stop what's about to become a shit show, pardon my language. Nigeria has no business, as the biggest African country in population of Black people, leading a war to protect the interests of France. No. Niger is a sovereign nation. They have a right to decide their own affairs. The coup was bloodless. This is not a case of there's genocide going on, we have a responsibility to step in. It's not a case of there's any form of kill is going on, we need to go and stop it. No, this was a bloodless coup till date. Save for the attack on Nigerian soldiers from some foreign entities that we don't know, no civilians have been killed. So ECOWAS needs to back off. We don't need to set a conflagration into West Africa. If we do, we all see what's going on in Ukraine and Russia. We see what's been going on between Saudi Arabia and Yemen for years. These wars, they don't have an end.
No, they don't.
They don't have an end. You don't achieve.
Yeah, sorry to interject. To add to it, it's going to be guerrilla warfare. Nobody has an answer.
You can't win it.
You can't win it.
Nigerians have land assets. In Niger State, less than 2 hours drive from Aso Rock, bandits just downed one of our military aircrafts. Less than 2 hours from Aso Rock. So Nigerians have land access directly to Abuja, and they have collaborators in Nigeria. Don't forget that. We have to talk about it, Mr. Adi.
Yes, I agree.
Northern Nigeria are cousins with Niger. As a matter of fact, it is said that our former president's father is directly from there. This is one people.
Ancestrally, Buhari is from Maradi now.
That's
why one of the reasons they built the I mean, we're about rounding off, and I know you have a lot to offer, but I told you that was the last question, but something that just came to me. The case in Illinois, the article case against Tinubu that wants the authentication of all his certificates and what have you. Tinubu was supposed to give file a reason today while they should not release everything. To the best of my knowledge, I've not heard anything. You know, I mean, that possibly means that there's no response. Now, if at the end of the day, the court reveals everything and Tinubu is found wanting, you know, that, okay, he was not the one that attended Chicago State University, he didn't go there, that the person that went there is a female, and there's a major expose on the fraudulent nature of the personality of Tinubu, what do you think will happen to the sitting president of Nigeria? Do you think he'll resign? Or,
I expect him to resign. I expect him to resign if he's a man of honor. If he cannot disprove the school, because the news is all over the place now. Mr. Balogun, we are setting the precedence for our children, for what our children, our youth, we imbibe as who we are as a people. And I think we should not forget this. If we don't want straight up armed robbers to take over power, because it's happened in Colombia before. Pablo Escobar tried to run for president, and he knew who he was. The country knew who he was, but he wanted to force him. If we don't want to embolden criminality in government, not on the streets, in government, if we don't want to embolden, I think there comes a time where, for the larger good, for the benefit of the larger good, a man should make certain sacrifices. If it is indeed released from that school, truly, that the student was a U.S. citizen, Bola Tinubu that they knew in that school was a U.S. citizen, was female, and that is the school he said he attended, I don't think we need to wait for the court. I think the President Tinubu should do the right thing. Do a national broadcast, say, I don't agree with all of this, there's been a mistake somewhere, but just for the sake of the country, so we can move forward together because of the crisis we are facing, multidimensional ways, I will tender my resignation so the country can move past this. I will expect nothing less from a man of dignity.
I agree with you absolutely and totally. ADEJUWON ANJOORIN, fantastic. You never disappoint. Always on point. Thank you once again. To our listeners at home, that's the state of the Nigerian nation. Nigeria is battered almost beyond repairs. Almost beyond repair. The largest concentration of Black people anywhere on the planet is not doing well at all. It's looking like it's a disgrace to the entire Black race. We know, you know, that 1 out of every 4 sub-Saharan Africa is a Nigerian. 1 out of every 6 Black people on the entire planet is a Nigerian. Nigeria needs to recalibrate. The election result, when people vote, it needs to count. Do not invade Niger. That is not the solution to the problem. There are other ways to do it. Once again, ADEJUWON ANJOORIN, we call him J1. Thank you for coming to Atlanta Discuss. We're coming back next week again. I promise we were going to discuss Trump this week, but for one reason or the other, we just have to look at Africa. There's a lot, coming up every day on Trump. We'll wait for a period where maybe most of the cases against him have been filed and is in court for, because I heard there's still more coming from, the special prosecutor's office. So we'll wait till that time before we go for the jugular. So, J1, thank you once again for coming to Atlanta Discuss. Discussion was fantastic. So thank you. It's a wrap now. We got to go. Thank you, everybody. See you next week.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Bye.